And now we got some other conversation. So Orlando Brown, we all know Orlando Brown from That's So Raven or uh, uh um Family Matters, 3J, right?
BJ, yeah.
And we know him from all the interviews. My man is just all over the place. Been on Dr. Phil, crazy interview with Vlad, right? You do interviews with Vlad. Who do you do interviews with all the time?
Yeah.
I see him all the time. I don't know who you do interviews
Very
with.
well, but I don't know if he do it with Vlad, but I be seeing him places, but I try not to put videos.
Talking crazy.
Yeah. So uncomfortable.
And we also know him from Major Pain. So as a reason, and I heard a lot of commentary from him, right? And he said some outlandish things. And I've never had an issue with anything that he said before, right? Mm-hmm. It's crazy and outlandish that has been until this most recent thing that he said. So he's having this interview and he's going through some past trauma of sort while he's on set or in a trailer or whatever, filming Major Pain with Damon Wayans. And he talks about I can't remember the actor name, Karen Parsons or something like that. The female interest in Major Pain, Hillary Banks. Hillary Banks from Fresh Karen Park, right? Yeah. And he talks about Damon Wayans cheating on his wife with Hillary Banks. He goes into this thing and he's talking like it's this just traumatic experience that he has. And then he looks dead into the camera. Hey, you cheated on your wife, bro. You did that. You screwed up. You effed up that beautiful woman. You did that. Major Pain was 30 years ago.
Yeah.
If not longer. 30 plus years ago. And you're talking about a situation that may or may not have happened. You're a kid. You know what I'm saying? And then ain't no telling what you're talking about. But to say something like that, to me, that's crossing the line. Something that's so long ago, right? For one. And then something that's the accusations of somebody cheating on their spouse, like that has more levels of effect. Not just that individual, that's just the entertainer. Like we heard Cat Williams talking. We hear Monique talking. We hear all this, but it's more so just on that individual. Not necessarily on that particular character of like family level. Now, when we start getting to that realm, now I got a problem with it. And I was like, man, come on. That's why you had to go there. Why you had to go there, dig that up 30 years later and say what somebody did on their wife, potentially, allegedly. Right?
Yeah.
And I was like, nah, it's too much, man. It's too much.
Yeah. It makes you wonder, is it you wanting to ruin the man's life, or is it you really trying to release your own traumas? You know, we live in a world today where a lot of people are beginning to speak up regarding their victim. I mean, the people who made them a victim, I guess you could say. And then you get into that whole conversation, like you said, at what point do we actually let go of our traumas and move on from it versus feeling obligated to hold on to it and try to hold someone accountable for the trauma that they may have put on you, you know, or added to your life through their actions. For me personally, I know I have an old school mentality with a lot of things, and you've said something to the effect of our generation was taught that we didn't have a voice versus this generation is taught to have a voice and to speak up.
Have a voice and use it, yeah.
And to use it, yes. And we function differently. And because of my upbringing of being from that generation and not having a voice, that's something I figured out, though, when I got on my own, like to have a voice. So for me, I took the point of view of I didn't have that growing up, so I'm changing that from this point forward. And my father did something good for me when I left the house, which may have helped me to realize it was okay to have a voice. But he told me, he said, you're on your own now and you're a man. So you're going to have to take care of yourself, protect yourself. I still want you to be respectful when dealing with adults, but speak up for yourself, take care of yourself, and conduct yourself as an adult also, and know that they're going to have to respect you as an adult when you're out moving around in the world. And I mean, for me, I already had that in mind, but the cosign was like, all right, cool. If something was to go down with me and an adult, at least I know I got my parents' support. So for me, I immediately took on the mindset. I dealt with that at home. I'm never going to deal with that in the streets, where I don't speak up for myself. And, we had a recurring joke back in the day in college. It was, don't let nothing ride.
Oh, yeah.
Let that ride, man. Can't let that ride. We can't let it ride. But that was our mindset. And so I'm from that mindset also as an adult. I ain't letting it ride. So I prevented a lot of trauma in my life from having a voice. So I guess maybe I'm unfair to say it, but I believe people should. If it's 30 years old, you almost got to bite the bullet on that, take the L, and start just letting go of the past and changing your future. And that's my take on it. Let go of your past. You can't correct it. That moment is gone. You don't get a do-over in life. But instead of being lost in the past, stay in the present and fix these moments in the present so you don't begin to compile new trauma on top of old trauma. You know what I'm saying? So I'm in the preventative stage of my life. I'm not stuck in the past.
Yeah, you mentioned something earlier when we were kind of having this discussion a little earlier, and you mentioned scars, right? Trying to chase down scars. And I think that's what a lot of people do now, right? They recognize that they've had some scars. And the scars scab up. They might go through a low healing process. You might have some scar tissue. But that scar is there. And I think people get fixated, like you mentioned, on trying to chase down what the scars are and what's the meaning behind the scars and how did that scar get there, and focusing more on preventing more scars and then focus on that particular, those older scars. Let those scars go. Let those scars are going to be scars. They're there. And sometimes they might serve as reminders, but let those reminders be, how do I avoid getting scarred in the future? When I look at certain scars I have on my body, I remember that's what that situation was, or how that happened, how I got that scar. Some of them I might not remember, but I might remember the pain from the scar. I don't remember how it happened, but those scars right there, that was probably painful. Let me avoid getting further scars. Right. Or like if a scar comes my way, let me deal with that and address that scar. If we're so focused on the scars that are already there, we miss the opportunity to take care of ourselves to prevent further scars, or we make ourselves susceptible and vulnerable to getting more scars because we're so fixated on the scars. Instead of watching where we're walking, I'm walking and looking at my scars, trying to figure out life looking at my scars.
Right.
Trying to navigate while I'm looking at my scars instead of being tentative to what my mission is in life now. Now, I can't worry about that scar I got when I was 10 years old. I got to push forward and worry about potential scars coming up. And then when I see something, say something, do something, prevent it, treat it better than I treated it before. Maybe I didn't put ointment on that scar 15 years ago, but I know how to treat my scars better now. I can put ointment on it. I can wrap it up. I can bandage it up. I can treat it. I can make sure I have a certain type of medication, mental medication, to deal with whatever my scars are.
It's facts, man. I'm glad you brought that back up too, man, because sometimes we get to ranting off air. And then when we go back into the subject on air, some of the excitement is gone, or you forget to say a point the way you said it, or make another point. And I'm glad you went back to that point, because yes, that's ultimately what it is. We all wear physical and emotional scars from our lifetime. We're going to wear them. We can't get rid of them, but they are supposed to serve as a reminder of how that occurred and what not to do again. You learn the lesson very young. Your parents say you hot, don't touch that. You don't learn what hot is until you touch it. Once you learn what hot is, you adjust to that from now on. You know what I'm saying? And that's what our scars are. We all have been emotionally affected by stuff that changes who we are. But don't let it necessarily change you in a bad way, but it now teaches you just how to navigate these circumstances. If I get a scar from doing something stupid and I cut my elbow, I know what not to do to prevent that next time. It's not a matter of trying to necessarily go back and figure out how it happened and this and that. No, I just know I can't make these same mistakes again. And ultimately, you can't prevent the next scar from occurring. It's just going to happen. I got 2 cuts on my hand now. You know what I'm saying? I didn't mean to do it. It just happened. And, it is what it is, man. It's going to happen along the way. Somebody's going to hurt my feelings along the way.
You learn how to alleviate the pain better. You learn more effective ways to alleviate the pain. You learn effective ways to make the healing process go by faster and to make and minimize the scars. Like you learn that through your past traumas. So it's like, okay, who am I now? Who am I now? And let me deal with my now. Let me just take ownership of this in this moment. You mentioned earlier, past is gone, future ain't here. Right now is the now. And all I can do is just build my knowledge base now of how to deal with my emotions, how to deal with my physical scars, my mental scars, my emotional scars. So when tomorrow does come, God willing, then I'm equipped.
Yeah.
That's simply it. That's simply it. And the thing is, like, let's get to a point of healing, right? Right. There's a way that we can heal without having to go back and drag everything to the forefront. That's how I feel. I don't feel like we have to drag because in my opinion, when these guys do this or they go back and they drag everything to the forefront, I gotta get closure. To me, that's opening up the wounds more. Yeah. To me, that's digging it deeper. To me, that's causing more scars. To me.
Yeah. And you don't know if it's going to give you closure, in all honesty.
And you don't know if it's going to, exactly. You don't know if it's going to give you closure. Yeah. All right, we got to open up this wound again so we can try to fix it. But that might not be the fix. That might not be the fix.
Yeah. And you might end up in a situation where now you trying to revisit these situations, bring them to the forefront. Now I've gone over this. And once you do that, you still have to have a moment in your life where you say, all right, I did that. Now how do I move on? Life don't just magically make you feel better. You still got to get to the how do I move on? Yeah. I can. So why not? How do I move on? Just skip straight to the move on.
Yeah. Why not? Yeah. Why not just move straight to it? Exactly. Why not just get straight to it?
No, and I'll say this early in the conversation. I hate to keep repeating the same points to you, but anyway, what you have in your life, right, is you have the opportunity every single time that you see yourself being something that you don't like about yourself, just correct it in the moment instead of saying this situation happened in the past and I don't want to ever be that again. This person brought this nasty trait out of me and they're to blame for it. How about every time you see yourself being that nasty trait, you just change it moving forward instead of trying to, have this confrontation with this person that brought this out of you or made you behave this way. You know what I mean? Like people all the time say, oh, this person caused this traumatic situation. Hey, man, half the time, most people that cause you trauma don't even know they didn't purposely do it. There's a few evil people that purposely do stuff.
It is, yeah.
But there's a lot of times where them people don't even know that it didn't have that effect on them. It didn't have that effect. You know how many times people have come to me and said, hey, you did this for me. Thank you for doing this for me. And I don't remember doing it. The same works with negative stuff. Just because it didn't mean nothing to me, but it meant something to them, the act that I did. Sometimes when somebody did something that hurtful to you, it was not malicious. They just was doing something. They might have thought it was all in fun and all in jest, and the blow landed a little harder than they thought it was. And they hurt your feelings and they didn't mean to. And you held the trauma from that, but it meant nothing to them. And if you went to them 10 years later and said something, they'd have been like, I don't remember that, but my fault on that. I didn't mean to.
but you've been holding on to that. But you've been holding on to that for 10 years.
You've been
allowing
holding
it to fester.
And who
and then you go back to
does that weight hurt? It didn't hurt them. They ain't holding on to it.
The person holding it. That's a lesson to learn in life that'll just help things go by. With more. What's the word I want to use? You get through things better. You get through things easier and with more,
grace,
aptitude. And grace, and just allowing things to happen. Like while you were talking, I thought about this. Like if you had a path say it was a path to work, right? And you had to drive this path or walk this path, and it's snakes over here and rocks and it cliffs, and you might fall and hurt yourself and die, or it's dangerous, right? It's a hazardous area,
right?
And then you find out a better way to go on a different route. Are you going to go back and show everybody this route and, hey, look, come this route with me, and we're going to walk this whole path through all this danger and turmoil and everything, just to show everybody the path of this was hazardous and dangerous. Yeah. And every time hey, look, come here. Let me show you this way. Look, this is what I had to go through. Like, you're going to keep doing that? Or you just going to take the new route? Just take the new route and leave well enough alone.
Yeah, it's way too many emotions connected to that stuff, man. People got to learn to let go of it, man.
Stop reliving it.
Stop reliving it. I mean, for those who feel like it's necessary to speak on it, I get how that logically would make sense to a person, but it don't always fix it. It don't always fix it.
And we also talked about, not saying don't talk about it. Like, if you got somebody that you're confident in, right? A confidant or a therapist or whoever, and you just want to unpack that just for the sake of getting it off your chest, then I say do that. But to go back and drag everything with you, to drag everybody with you, I don't think that's necessary. But if you need to talk about it, I'm not by any means saying or discouraging anybody from having the conversation, or just at least talking about your past traumas, like in the right scenario, in the right setting, with the right people who are going to hold it over your head or force you to relive it. Then do that. There's nothing wrong with that. By no means. Have that conversation, but have that conversation with somebody that you're confident in, and then that's it. Like I said, like somebody who has no necessary buy-in into the situation or the people or whatever. Some third party who just has nothing to do with it. That can give you some good information of how to navigate in a different route.
Yeah,
and those past
and that is true. Also, you know, it does sound like we were having a one-sided conversation, but that is the balance to it. Yes, if you need to speak on it, and speak on it a few times if you need to. But once your conversation starts getting into you're constantly living in this moment and bringing it up and dwelling on it, you gotta let that go, man. You can't keep talking about the same stuff for 20 years, you know, because then at that point, how much of your life have you missed not being present?
Yeah.
You know, you have not allowed yourself to be the best version of what you could be because you were hung up on stuff. Yeah. So
let me ask you this. How do you feel about all these tell-all books, all these big interviews, people talking about something that's not even relevant? It might be relevant to them, and for some reason they've been holding on to it for 15, 20 years, and they just got to have this big grand, because 2024 is full of these. It's full of these interviews and full of all this information coming forward that a lot of it I could live without. Shawnee, I don't need to know that you didn't love Shaq. You really didn't need to know that. Orlando Brown, I didn't need to know that Damon Wayans may or may not have cheated on his wife. Didn't need to know that.
I think, to be honest, man, all the tell-all stuff, I think that's for attention. That's not therapeutic for people. I don't believe that's therapeutic. I think that's all for money, attention, and clout, ultimately.
Yeah. That's but a lot of people feel like, I have to put this in this book, or I have to go and do this interview and speak on it because it can help somebody else who's going through it. But my thing is, you can help somebody going through something by saying, hey, look, if you're going through something, go talk to a therapist and figure it out. Not go on and tell all these experiences on some red table talk and talk about your husband and some entanglement that you had. And that's your way of dealing with it, to encourage somebody else to go talk about their entanglements or their mishaps or their traumas in life. Like, we don't need all of that. I'm getting to the point. I'm tired of it, man. It's
I think
much.
There's a context to that. The whole idea of letting people know it's okay to speak up and have a voice, that's one thing. Yeah. But you can feel if the person is actually doing that and it's therapeutic versus it being an exposing situation. Mm-hmm. And it feels like the culture is about exposing now. And I think that's what it comes down to. We just, to revisit our 4-part conversation, that battle was won through exposing. And that's a reflection of culture. We had never had a culture that was based on whoever can expose the most tea wins. That was never the basis of rap.
The tea.
And now we've reached that point, but that's a reflection of where we are as a society.
Yeah.
It's all about exposing.
Every book, every interview, and now our disc records, you know what I'm saying, it's all about, like you said, tea.
Mm-hmm.
TV shows. It's all about giving the tea. Who gonna get a tea? Like what's the most juicy details I can give about something that nobody knows anything about and would never have known anything about it if I wouldn't say anything or they didn't even know to care. But now we got this.
And I can cover it up, give myself plausible deniability by saying, oh, well, it was therapeutic. I needed to speak my truth. I needed to release this to the world. I needed to let go of my trauma. You can just cover it up as that. Now, if it is that, we'll know it's that. But if you just want to expose somebody, it's going to be a lot of salaciousness going on when you provide that story. And if you tell it that way, then I know you want attention.
And understanding how these platforms work, how social media is nowadays, you know what I'm saying? Like, knowing that you getting on these platforms, whether it's Twitter and you tweeting about something, or you get on YouTube, or you whatever podcast you want to get on and talk to, the effect that is having. The reach. Like that's not the social media should not be the place where you go and have your therapeutic sessions.
Yeah,
it's not necessary. Got to find a different way. 2024, we got to find a different way.
Yeah, man. Hopefully the exposed culture calms down just a little bit. Now, and when I say the exposed culture, I'm not talking about, I don't know. There's some people that probably deserve to be exposed. You know what I'm saying? Like if you committing like illegal and heinous acts. Yeah. But,
did he?
But if it's just, if it's just some basic, if ain't nobody really if ain't no criminal acts going on, man, stop exposing people, man, for their preferences and stuff like that, man. Or
we don't
some
need
little petty stuff that happened between you and somebody else.
Yeah, you're right, man. You're right. We got to find a better way. Got to find a different way to navigate these waters